Hi, Andy here. I love my job teaching at St Clair's School, influencing the minds of our students with the wonders of science. And then COVID struck, and all the fun of teaching was taken away. We had to learn to teach at home. Our pupils had to learn at home. We all embraced this, but there were some pitfalls. Let's take a look at some of those pitfalls now to see what we can do about them. Most of our students would start the day here, and we would like to think they would eagerly switch on their computer, load up Teams, and be set for the day. In reality, most of them were accessing Teams through one of these. That's great, but it brought limitations to how our hard work was being presented. PowerPoints wouldn't load properly and instructions being displayed on a separate page were a couple of the issues. A more accessible learning resource for children and adults is through video. I'm going to show you how to make and animate your own short videos to help get your core learning message across. Ideally, these will be no longer than 5 minutes and take the same amount of time to prepare as a normal PowerPoint presentation. The real beauty of these is that once you have made them, they are there forever to use again and again. Up next is an example of one of my lesson videos. I will then explain how I animated it and give you the tools to get started. Let's go. This picture was taken by the Hubble telescope. The Hubble telescope is orbiting our Earth and is used to take pictures of space and beam them back to Earth. The picture you're looking at is under 1% of the universe. What you're actually looking at is approximately 10,000 galaxies. Our Milky Way is just one of those galaxies. Let's take a closer look. This is an artist's impression of our Milky Way. We can't take photographs from it from the outside because we're in it. Our solar system is roughly here. There are approximately 400 billion stars in our Milky Way. That's a lot of stars. You could then ponder the question, are we really alone in our galaxy, let alone the universe? Our solar system is just one of potentially billions. Let's take a closer look at our Sun. Our Sun is a main sequence star. It provides us with the energy our planet needs to be habitable. In fact, the Earth and everything in it originated from our Sun. So technically, we're all made of stardust. The main sequence title is because our Sun is about halfway through its lifespan. Let's take a look at the lifespan of the Sun and big and smaller stars. Stars start their life in something called a solar nebula. It's a big cloud of gas, and when that gas compresses under its own gravity, it forms something called a protostar. A protostar is the beginning of a star. After the protostar is formed, it turns into a main sequence star, like our Sun. As that star starts to use its energy and grow, it becomes a red giant, and we can see here in the picture, a red giant is significantly bigger than our Sun. Once it's run out of energy, it will pitter out into the shell of gas, and then eventually compress back under its own gravity to form a white dwarf star. If the stellar nebula is significantly bigger, then it will form a bigger protostar, and then a bigger main sequence star, which will eventually turn into a super red giant, and because it's got more energy, will supernova, and then compress back down into a neutron star or a black hole. So stars have two paths they can take in their lifespan. Okay, all the animations you saw in those 2 short videos were made using PowerPoint. We all have access to PowerPoint, and so it seemed logical to make the animations through PowerPoint. The lesson video you saw is in front of you now, and you can see the slides look quite complicated. But what we're going to do is talk through how we make each animation on each slide, so you have an understanding and the tools you need, or the basic tools you need, to go forward with making your own animations. So, first thing I'm going to do is start with a blank PowerPoint. My blank PowerPoint consists of one slide at the moment, and each slide is going to be a different scene within my presentation. Now, my first scene started with the Deep Field Hubble Telescope image. Now, to find images in PowerPoint, we have three options. We can insert pictures from the device you're using, which is your computer, or stock images, which Microsoft hold, or you can search online images. For this tutorial, we're going to be using online images because it's got the biggest wealth of library. So I need to find an image of the Hubble Deep Field photograph. So I'm going to type that into the search bar. Field. I'm then presented with all the possible images that I could use. I'm going to find one that suits my background the way I want it to look. So I'm going to choose this one here. Now, this image comes in two parts. We've got the main image here, and we've also got underneath it the accreditation for where the images come from. I'm going to get rid of that accreditation quickly because we don't need it. I'm going to make the image fit the size of the screen. And that's going to be my background, my opening animation. Okay, the first image you saw come across the screen was a picture of the Hubble telescope. I'm going to search for that picture now. So I'm going to put insert picture, online images. I'm going to find a picture of the Hubble telescope. But this time, after writing Hubble telescope, I'm going to write PNG, and that's the file type that I want. A PNG file is a backgroundless image that's already been cut out for you. It won't be a square image floating across the screen. It'll be actually the image of what you're searching for. So if I click that, it should give me some options for PNG files of the Hubble telescope. We can see we have different telescopes here. All of these are PNG files, and they keep loading infinitelessly because it's searching the web for them. I'm going to use this first one here, so I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to click it there. Now, my Hubble telescope is a little bit too big, so I'm going to make it slightly smaller. Again, it's come as the picture and the accreditation underneath. I'm going to get rid of the accreditation. Now, my positioning for my Hubble telescope is here, it looks fine. I want this to fly on the screen though. So I need to go to animate, and I'm going to say fly in. At the moment, it floats in from the bottom. I want it to float in from the bottom corner. So if I move over to effect options, I can say fly in from the bottom corner, bottom right, that one there. And there we go, it flies in. Now, all my animations will appear underneath the animation pane, this part up here. If we click that and keep that open as we go along, it keeps a nice track of where we're animating things. The next thing to appear on the screen was some text that said under 1%. So I'm going to insert that text now. If I go over to Word Art's more professional than just writing it, looks better. I'm going to pick some text, the style I want. I'm going to use this one here, and I'm going to say under 1%. And I'm going to make that slightly larger, and I want this to appear after the Hubble telescope has flown in and I've talked about it. So, making sure this is selected, I'm going to go to animation, and I'm going to put, let's choose appear. Now, if we look at our animation pane on the side, we now have two animations happening. There's a mouse button next to each animation, and that shows that it will start on click. I can get that 1% to appear at the same time as my Hubble telescope flies in. By clicking this little arrow over here, I can say start with previous. Now what happens is, if I preview that, it appears at the same time as the Hubble telescope flies in. What I then want to do is I want this to disappear, and I want the Hubble telescope to fly off the screen. So I'm going to start with the Hubble telescope. I'm going to click on the Hubble telescope, make sure it's selected. I'm going to go up to add animation because it's already got one animation associated with it. And I'm going to scroll down to fly out. Again, I'm going to change that to the top right, top left where I want it to go. There we go. And then I can make this 1% disappear also by clicking on it. And I'm going to go add animation, and then I'm going to fade out this time. If I play all those animations from the start, it looks something like this. Now, each animation is working with a click of a button at the moment. So let's have a look at how PowerPoint looks. And then I click again, my Hubble telescope flies out, and I click again and the 1% disappears. So we can keep going back and checking what's happening with our animation as that happens. The next picture I want to insert is a picture of the Milky Way. So again, I go to here, online pictures, and I choose Milky Way. I find a picture of the Milky Way that I want, and I can put that on the screen. Now I'm definitely going to make that smaller just after I've got rid of the accreditation down here. There we go. And I'm going to put that somewhere like this because I'm going to talk about the Milky Way in my presentation. So we need to animate this now Milky Way picture coming onto the screen. So I'm going to go to animation, fly in. We can see the order of our animations down here. I can reorder these by dragging them up and down if I want to. At the moment the order looks good. If I go to my presentation now, it will look something like this. I talk about the Hubble telescope disappears, 1% disappears, and then the Milky Way pops on the screen as I talk about that. Now if I want to go on to a different scene now and create a new slide, I can do so. I'll get rid of these preset titles here. I'm going to talk about this Milky Way image now, so I'm just going to copy that over to this slide. Let's get rid of that animation. Okay, let's make this nice and big now because this is going to be what I'm going to talk about for the next part. Now in this one we saw an alien spaceship fly across the screen as I spoke about it. So I'm just going to make this, just get this centered again. I'm going to show you how to animate that spaceship going across now. So I'm going to find my alien spaceship, which is insert, pictures, online pictures, and I'm going to put UFO PNG. There's the one I used, so I'm going to use that again. Okay, let's get rid of its accreditation down the bottom. Right, let's make this smaller now. Now I want this to fly across the screen as I speak about the other aspects on the presentation. So I'm going to zoom out just slightly more so I can just see what I'm doing here. I'm going to move the alien spaceship down here. I need to give this alien spaceship a path across the screen. So I'm going to go to animation, and I'm going to expand this animation down here to show all the animations, and we've got different custom motion paths here. Okay, I'm going to use a straight line from one side to the other. So what will happen now is, by default the animation is just going straight down. Well, I want to drag this red section here all the way up so off the screen over here. Now what will happen when I play that animation is my UFO will fly across. Now that's a little bit too quick for me, I want it to go slower. So I can go to the animation pane over here and I can drag the time longer and it goes up in seconds, so I can make it about 10 seconds here. There we go, roughly 10 seconds. Now if I click that, it should fly across the screen slower. So as I talk about what's on the slide, that can be a nice background thing. Now those are just two basic ways of animating stuff across the PowerPoint presentation. You're not bound by any effect though, there are lots of different effects within animations on here that we can choose from, including the custom paths which make it really stand out. Now once we've finished our slides and we have all our animations and text that we want on the screen, it's then time to record the video. Now we'll do this by recording the same way as we've done before. Go to record slideshow, press record. We can start narrating over our video now, and as we click the animations, they will appear as we speak about them and disappear when we want them to. Now, it might be better to write a script when you do this, and you can do that in a notes section, and then you can display your notes here as you speak about them, and it helps with the timing. Once you've finished recording over your PowerPoint, what you need to do is go to File, and this is where you want to make it into a video, and the option to do that is here, Export as Video. Now if you create the video file, it will ask you to save it as an MP4 video. You can save it to your computer. That would be quite a big video file though, depending on how big your presentation is. What I would then do is I would then upload it to YouTube and then supply pupils with a link to the video rather than the actual video. I hope this has been helpful. Any questions you have, don't hesitate to contact me.